charge and roll. We want to go to heaven when we die. Go to heaven, charge and roll.
Yep, that's my channel. Dead. 6 Feet Under is a big fall for the tuber who's a 5-star YouTuber. You know what? It's so unfair. I'm dead, and I never got a chance to really live in the first place. I, like any idea out there, am cursed to get people to say my name. And as much as I want to be part of you, sorry, let's brighten this up a bit so some social media bozo doesn't fitch it for me. I guess you could say I'm on the wait list. And the big problem is that some ideas just don't stop hogging the spotlight. Remade, rebooted, reimagined, retooled, reinvented, revived, regurgitated. It's pretty much safe, but these are all gonna end up more rotten than I am. While I'm one to praise new and original ideas, sometimes adaptation is somewhat of a necessary evil. So what if we took a concept and compared how it evolved under one single IP, and how the same general idea has survived through multiple creators' own spin on it? Why don't we look at the history of ghost pals, just like us? So why don't we just cut to the chase and start talking about Beetlejuice Broadway Musical. Ghost stories are as old as cinema itself, with ghosts appearing as early as 1896 in Méliès's The House of the Devil. That's a whole 6 years prior to A Trip to the Moon. Even the first animated cartoon is believed to be 1908's Phantasmagoria, which is inspired by lantern plays of Phantasmagoria, with haunting images and shapeshifts that a lot of specters in cartoons tend to do. Well, illuminating history. Sure, there's plenty of ghosts to go around, trust me, baby. But maybe the best baseline of the friendly ghost archetype is this little dweeb. The clandestine Boy Scout is everyone's favorite ghost. He started out even uglier than me, right? It's enough to scare the color out of you. And Paramount's novel tune debut in 1945. Casper's gloomy over his botched suicide attempt. Gee whiz. He's taken in by some new pals, Bonnie and Johnny. The thing about Casper is he's disgustingly wholesome. Casper is more about the fantasy of having a friend who can do a supernatural trick, and less about the dynamics between the dead and the living. It's not much of a stretch that Casper could make plenty of friends, but as soft as Pillsbury is here, most ghosts want to assume the macabre elements and gothic terror spiraling towards death. So finally, let's get into our main topic of discussion. It's showtime! Tim Burton's creepy gothic designs has earned him the right to be regarded as one of cinema's true visionaries. Before it became distinctly Artur, it spawned with Beetlejuice, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Which is kinda creepy in its own right. Visual splendor is why I believe Beetlejuice is truly timeless. The spectacle of visual effects, blending claymation, creature effect, outrageous set design, has created one of the most vivid and bizarre depictions of the afterlife on screen. In terms of the larger picture, Beetlejuice is best taken as a lore world-building film. The original largely focuses on the recently deceased Barbara and Adam Maitland, as they venture into the afterlife, as well as trying to fend off the intrusion of the living Dietz family. The main players moving forward are Lydia Dietz, the goth daughter whose unusualness is able to bring the Maitlands closer to the living, and the titular Beetlejuice, who is more there to harbor conflict with his Faustian bargaining, as well as show the potential powers that spirits have in the world. A lot of what's remained intact throughout iterations is having to say his name 3 times, and abrasive personality, and he's just a straight-up ghoul, and with little origin story behind him. As timeless as the original is, it's far from perfect. Again, the film is more about the exploration, and it does have commentary and themes, providing some nuance on challenging modern design, as well as confronting the grave topic of death with a sardonic aloofness.
We just have to pray the other closets are bigger than this one.
It's open for a lot of interpretation and analysis, but the story is admittedly clunky. It can feel meandering with a weak through line as it hopes to play a commendable balancing act of trying to juggle its characters' messaging. Less of a straight line to point A to point B, but a more scattered collection of scenes with strong elements that eventually ends up you in a pretty satisfying place. Lydia is in many ways the heart of the film, and Beetlejuice is an iconic tour de force that it can feel that they're underutilized to an extent, being side characters to the mainland story of waiting rooms and caseworkers. Still hard to beat a cast with Ferris Bueller's principal, Kevin McAllister's mom, Veronica Sawyer, and Batman. Though let's take a crack at it anyway. First, an aside, Beetlejuice had a script for a sequel called Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. It goes something like this. It's basically a messy love web. Beetlejuice is trying to marry Lydia, again, but he has to compete with Lydia's crush, a surfer dude named Chemo. So Beetlejuice makes a sexy cactus lady named Cactus to fall in love with Chemo. There's a scene where BJ turns himself and Lydia into mer people. Surf contest time! Beetlejuice uses a love potion to marry Lydia, but this is thwarted by this Eve-like goddess, who is actually Beetlejuice's mom, and she just cures Lydia and says something along the line of, "Save the whales," and kinda just dips. Sure. This causes Beetlejuice to grow his head and become Jucifer. A bunch of monsters cause havoc on the island. Beetlejuice turns into Mothra. I thought we were just using her. But Lydia uses magic Moana powers to wash all the monsters away. Beetlejuice threatening to kill Lydia this time, but Otho, who has been kind of a running gag this whole movie, like he's Lancer from Carnival Phantasm, gets his Space Jam moment where he shows up out of nowhere and says Beetlejuice 3 times. And might I just say,
No, that sounds really stupid.
maybe Beetlejuice's next iteration isn't meant for the silver screen. Maybe he's poised for Saturday morning.
It's showtime!
Take everything you just heard about the very adult doubling down on Beetlejuice's heinousness and put it in one ear and out the other, because we're going the complete other way with it. The film is somewhat of a fright for the whole family, as it never really reaches gore or violence to be a serious scare. But it's also hard to believe that the kiddos were clamoring for the marvelous adventures of the film's sex pervert. The Canadian animation studio, which would go on to mostly be known for the Care Bears, wildly different I know, would create a more kid-friendly version of the B-Man. Indeed, a bold departure from the source material. This adaptation shows a friendship between the more upbeat Lydia Deeds and her best friend, the rambunctious and chaotic Beetlejuice. BJ is a more tolerable version. He's dirty, wacky, and rude.
Just pack your truck and get out of here, go on!
Oh, goody! I've always wanted to travel, but I've never been anywhere before.
Could be because you're a tree! Yes, sir.
But not so much malicious or evil. The Beetlejuice cartoon is one that in some ways is a relic, and in other ways is way ahead of its time. The art style is a little dated for modern audiences, with the somewhat simplistic backgrounds, and just overall unimpressive imagery. The show's biggest weakness is probably that it just lacks direction or unique story scripts. It's very much a Saturday morning cartoon, due to a lot of conventions that air instead of being its own original thing. Especially if you're looking for a frightening cartoon, it's hard to not favor the richer style and episode plots of Courage, Gravity Falls, and even a Mystery Incorporated. Well, maybe not my first choice for a recommendation. A lot of the show feels like it would play even better today. Buddy comedy cartoons are still alive and well, and the relationship between Lydia and BJ is a rather unconventional one.
This disgusting creep is my best friend.
Yeah!
That, combined with the Beetlejuice cartoon, is one of the most committed to the bit cartoons I've ever seen. In its manic energy, the show is just non-stop puns and visual gags.
Some people will fall for anything!
He's the top dog in the pound, the biggest cheese around.
I'm the semi-inflatable,
Biodegradable,
general tradable,
ghost
with a mole! Wow, just what I needed! A new pair of pants! Stay calm, don't lose your head. Oops. Oh no, I screamed my head off! Yay! I was born to be vile, not to mention ugly. Now, Just a quick curl up and die.
As anything goes, there's constant humor as surreal imagery mixed with Laffy Taffy jokes. It's kind of amazing. Beetlejuice was a special cartoon. Tim Burton was involved in its conceptualization. Danny Elfman composed the theme song. It was one of the first shows to pioneer 3D animation into segments, and it was so successful that it aired concurrently on its home station ABC and rerunning on Fox. You just don't see that often. The cartoon version, if anything, set in motion the positive flanderization of BJ's character. In the original film, it's a little hard to pin down who exactly Beetlejuice is. Operating like a wicked demon, BJ is using trickery and preying on people's needs and desires, while dropping some of the complexity and mystery. What remains is the greedy trickster that can do what he wants to get what he wants. Is an inherently compelling character and one that with a more likable personality could definitely steal a show. As zany and spooky as Beetlejuice's buddy cartoon, the genre is about to get a lot more grim. With the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy, we're getting injected with a dose of subversive comedy. Grim Adventures rather focuses on spoofs and parodies and satirical takes on a multitude of horror icons and ideas. Maxwell Adams' comedy series takes this ghost buddy idea and completely flips it upside down. Not only are we swapping a ghost for the Grim Reaper himself, which is enough of a change to distinguish itself, but this time around the friendship is even kind of a sham.
To be honest, I hate playing with the two of you. You and that wretched girlfriend of yours are bad enough separately, but together, you're insufferable.
It's a dark comedy that usually finds its humor in how each character makes each other suffer.
That's it. I've had it!
Hey, thanks for slicing the pie, Grim.
The funniest episode of the series is they randomly invent the most annoying guy in the entire underworld and dedicate a whole episode to him.
Bores you. Will you destroy him too?
Hey, can I try on that hat? I think it's important that I try on the hat because...
What is wrong with you?
Judge?
No, shut up!
Judge?
Shut up!
Judge?
I order you to shut up!
Judge?
Why won't you shut up?
Judge? Yes.
With maybe the more loud and gross out humor being an understandable turnoff for some, Billy and Mandy is the most unique entry discussed in this video. Grim Adventures has a sort of additive continuity, letting both the city of Ennsville and the spooky creatures build the world and continue to set the tone, often revisiting characters to playing different aspects and letting the writers roam under the freedom of just exploring all that horror has to offer instead of needing to write around their own characters. It stands out as being the best genre exploration here, and there's a certain charm to it in its own right. Horror-themed friendship stories were starting to leave Beetlejuice as a mark of a bygone era. Yet, how about we turn on the juice and see what shakes loose? Honestly, in theory, Beetlejuice is something absolutely doomed to fail in adapting to a musical. So much of the original's appeal is capturing that movie magic. A constant parade of effects and wild energy that can't be produced 8 times a week within the limitations of the stage. One would think. Listen, the original is timeless. The cartoon is charming, but there's a strong case right here for why the musical is the best of the bunch. Right here, it's Samsonite. As much as I'm sickened by the glee radiating from theater kids, watching this adaptation might be the final stage of evolution for this tale. It seems like the musical wanted to be faithful to the beloved original, while also allowing some of the fun of the cartoon, and its goal is very much achieved. A lot of this can be credited to the shifting of focus. If the movie is the fish out of water tale of the Maitlands, and the cartoon is the many quirky Beetlejuice-centered antics, the musical finds its center focus on Lydia. A lot of the changes flesh out Lydia, giving a deeper understanding of her grief, best expressed through the absolute show stealer dead mom.
Or I'll be in my bedroom, wake me when I'm 20.
my videos feature some sort of international appeal. The best I can do is the South Korean performance of this song. Holy shit, crushing it. Rounding out Lydia as a more grieving suicidal teen leads to her stepmom having more to do as her life coach on the complete opposite spectrum of personal philosophy articulated in No Reason, as well as giving a conventional drama with her father whose grief is at odds to her own. Alex Brightman brings the B-Man to the stage with a delightful amount of sleaze and gravitas. Keaton's BJ is more the immoral wild card, while Brightman is more mischievous and cartoonishly jerkish.
And kill him. What? Nothing. I know you're woke, but you can take a joke here. And every show I do like a ton of coke here. The whole be a dead thing. Raising stakes by punching a baby.
In some ways, it's a victim of the Deadpoolification of modern comedy. Maybe being a little too meta and fourth wall breaking. Whoever ends up having a bit more bite than the cartoon and being a more lovable goof than the movie. BJ is a energetic agent of pure, unadulterated, self-centered anarchy. The musical also takes mental jazz at the pedo implications of the original and does rather stress that it's more of an ends to the means here.
Why don't you come inside? But we're really not supposed to. Why? Pedophiles.
I can't believe some cultures think this kind of thing's alright. This BJ is also antagonistic yet soft, so that we get more of a dynamic relationship between him and Lydia. A clever back and forth in Say My Name.
Oh, this is gonna be so good!
Because you're so smart, a stand-up role. I'll think about your offer, let you know. But I prefer my chances down below. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, yes. Being young and female doesn't mean...
Which eventually culminates into the blooming friendship, giving us the cartoon's buddy dynamic in That Beautiful Sound. Not only do we get Lydia's changing attitude towards BJ, their relationship is deepened by thematic parallels, with both finding a sense of invisibility and hoping to be acknowledged, hence making their name be said an important motif to both characters.
Is it being greedy to meet somebody to see me and say
The demon who isn't there. You're invisible when you're me.
You're invisible when you're sad.
I can bring your daddy so much pain. All you gotta do is say my name. You can see me! I'm gonna have a new best friend!
Adam and Barbara are back, and their inclusion is more in the background, but fitting for where flat two-dimensional characters such as them belong. The Maitlands, for better or worse, are more comedic this time around, and while I think their more comedic chops detract from how zany Beetlejuice should be in comparison, I think popcorny stage plays need to work the crowd, and overall, it leads to some pretty funny moments.
Look at these jugs! They spin about Barbara! That's what you've done, Barbara!
Whatever it takes to make them go crazy.
Turn all the lights on, that's like a baby.
Adam, I don't even know.
The musical is a pretty straightforward show about death, and embracing family, and learning to let positivity guide us through even our darkest moments. There's some moments towards the end that actually do have an emotional punch to them, and given that this is something as ridiculous as Beetlejuice the Musical, I think that deserves a pat on the back. Or a few, take your pick. It's very sweet, and a nice bag of tricks for the price that is certainly a treat. As much as adaptation has become a poison word in cinema criticism, the evolution of Beetlejuice shows how some characters and ideas need to grow along with us and spend time finding themselves. All I'm saying is adaptation could be more than corporate greed and selling out. Most of the time it's not. They're like, fuck Pinocchio. Passing along stories has always been a part of defining cultural cornerstones. Sometimes to keep the value and heart of them out of the grave. But how about the alternative? If only there was a fresh new ghost show that was currently airing, that we could compare the evolution of Beetlejuice to the fostering of this idea of their original properties and giving it to other creators.
Can't believe you're all mine. You and me for all time. I'm never, ever, ever gonna be alone again.
Oh boy. Disney's latest cartoon, in what is allegedly shaping up to be a pretty loaded era in animation for them, is The Ghost and Molly Mcgee. The new girl in town may have finally found her forever home when the haunting ghost Gazpacho Scratch curses Molly that he will haunt her every day until she abandons his home. A curse that completely backfires on him as the upbeat Molly cherishes her new friend and hopes to get him along for the ride as she sets out to inhabify the small, miserable town of Brighton. In a lot of ways, Molly Mcgee seems like a return to the basics. The two have nice opposites attract vibe, while not feeling to be in a way that set up plot contrivances. Scratch is more of just a lazy than a killjoy, so he's often along for Molly's pure intentions just begrudgingly. As of season 1, I'm hopeful that the show continues to grow on me. Each episode features a jingle of sorts, often spoofing different genres of music. Never gets to the length of Phineas and Ferb, but some fun musical montages that fit in line with Disney's typical shtick. The show is at its best when it's using more creative ghost world entities than the standard schoolgirls tries to help her community plot. While admittedly, I didn't find the show all that impressive initially, the further you go in, the show has an undeniable endearing quality to it. The show has quick and committed running gags, as well as a surprising amount of continuity, providing that the world and characters are growing episode by episode. I certainly didn't expect it to all culminate to a big resolution in season 1, but was impressed with what it ended up doing.
We left the house, so the curse is broken, isn't it? Which means you're not stuck with me anymore?
What? Where'd you get that idea? That's not how it works. I'll prove it. Say scratch.
Scratch.
Whoa, I can't stop myself! See? Here you go. I'm not going anywhere.
Funny enough, The Ghost in Molly Mcgee provides a continuing tale that encourages change, and embracing family, and learning to let positivity guide us through even our darkest moments. Deja vu, at the end of the day, both evolving concepts and spawning anew, kind of ended up in the same place. Is it just two endpoints are products of their time, and both have similar messages in response to the world outlook today? Or is just the cultivation of very similar stories reaching the same conclusion? Maybe you just wasted a lot of time with a video that has a whole lot of saying nothing. I don't know. What kind of revelation were you expecting to be revealed in the form of a YouTube video essay? And what are you gonna do about it? Dislike the video? Hope you have fun in your time machine. So what if this is just an excuse to talk about Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice? Ah, fuck! You do not know how hard it is to get rid of that guy. Happy Halloween. It's gonna be a spooky one. Trust me, baby. Ah, sandworms, why is it only gotta be sandworms? If you made it this far, how about sending me my flowers? I talked like this for over an hour. You know, you could like the video and subscribe. But how about you say my name? How good are you at charades? Come on, that's just lazy. No one asked you. And just, come on, just say it. Just say my name, just say it. Say it. There's not a lot of time left in the video.
She called me the N-word!